This is the show. I'm Hugh, Jan here.
Yes.
We have our guest, Georgia Marsh here.
Yes.
But it's funny that, we start the show and then, or we turn the cameras off and then everybody goes like, oh, and then everyone starts talking about really interesting things. Like,
And then as soon as we come back online, we're boring.
we're all like official, this is the show, and everyone's acting like serious and professional, right? But meanwhile, you know what it's really like.
It's not really true. I mean, we're pretty goofy right now. Well, I guess when we're talking about drinking and driving, and
Yes.
hopefully we're a little more serious.
Yes,
Slightly.
This is the show, by the way.
We're talking about art now, which is awesome.
that's right. So it can be fun.
And you're from my hometown, London, Ontario.
Yes, I am. Yes.
I don't always say... No, I actually pretty much every time someone tells me they're from London, I say, oh, I'm so sorry, but...
Oh, wait a second.
I don't mean that
I
so much
didn't
anymore.
originate in London, so you don't have to apologize. There you
You
go.
originate.
Here in Toronto at the Mount Sinai Hospital.
Lovely place.
That's
you
just
go.
around the corner.
It is. There you go.
So, wait, I got a question for you Londoners.
Oh, no.
Or do you call them Londoners in Ontario?
Yes,
Or
we do.
Londonites.
No, Londoners.
Londoners,
Londoners.
yes, for sure.
Can you tell about a person, depending on what part of London they're from?
Well, if you ask them about where the Galleria is, then some people will say uptown and some people will say downtown, depending on whether they're north or south of downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I'm from the north end because I call it downtown.
Yes, and I'm from the North End too because it's really the only place to be unless you're in the Old South. There's
That's
the
right.
Old South, the Old North, and the rest of it. Well,
Is pure suburbia? Is that what it
it
is?
is.
Yeah. So I like the older parts of town better myself.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some really beautiful parts of London, some really beautiful homes, and
Very
especially in
beautiful.
Old South.
Yes, yes. And in the Old North, I live in a cottage that was the first one on Sydenham Street, built
Oh.
in 1868.
Lovely.
Whoa.
Ontario Cottage?
Yes.
They're really nice.
What do you mean a cottage?
Beautiful.
Ontario cottages are a very distinctive style of building. Is it mostly southwestern Ontario, I guess, that, or maybe?
Yes, southwestern Ontario for the most part. There were two types of architecture. There were Victorian cottages, which are very plain, and they're just an absolutely plain front and more of they have a little roof on them. But you can tell an Ontario cottage because it's wider and it has a peak on the top. But it has a distinct look to it.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're very desirable real estate, and
Yes.
they're just one floor.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's one floor, but there's a nice little peaked triangular roof in the front with usually a little decorative window in the middle of it.
That's right.
They're quite lovely.
Yes.
That's cool. So that's, how old is it?
1868.
Whoa.
First house on the street. So, if you just think about, there's probably just a dirt path there and then the house.
You realize you can celebrate the sesquicentennial of your cottage next year.
Yes.
Oh no, sorry, in 2 years.
In 2 years.
In 2
In a
years.
couple of years.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just after Canada's.
Yes.
My parents were actually married on July the 1st, 1967. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be having their 50th this year.
Beautiful.
Is that right?
That's the summer
crazy.
of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which wasn't so much the same way in Canada, I don't think. It was the same thing.
No, it kind of was, because
Was
that
it?
was the Expo year.
That's true.
Yes.
That's
The
true.
Expo year was a very special year.
It was a wonderful year.
Did you go to Montreal that year?
No, I did not.
As an artist, do you have an opinion on habitat?
Well, I like any interesting artistic project, and I think it's very personal. Like anything is personal concerning art. So it doesn't matter who likes what. The idea is that you're doing something that is appealing to some person, to one being, and that's all you have to do.
That's
You're not
lovely.
painting. Are you painting for other people, or are you painting for yourself?
I always paint for myself because you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Before you can do anything for anyone else, you always have to come from yourself, from your heart space, right? And so for me, it's always, what is inspiring me? What is making me go forward? That doesn't mean I can't be influenced by someone's request for something.
Mm-hmm.
However, there has to be a caveat that says, whatever comes out is what you get, because that is what's coming from my heart, right?
I agree with that 100%. And in fact, even when it comes to business, to me, what's crazy is when people talk about doing a business or whatever, they say like, oh, well, you're designing a product or a service or whatever it is. Well, who's the target? You're designing it for the target audience. right? In other words, you're not really doing it from the heart at all. You're doing it entirely from actually your imagining of what somebody else wants.
Right.
And that's really, you can't really, because sometimes people don't know what they like until they see it.
That's right. So you really have to stand on the other side of that picture, and you have to be your customer. So I have to be my customer and say, do I love my painting? And I can say that. I do, right? I can see the authenticity in it. I can understand sort of what's gone into it because there's an energy vibration from the work.
An energy vibration. Okay, let's talk about that as we maybe look at some of your pieces. We got a
Yeah,
couple
nice.
here in the studio that we just went and looked at in person, but we got some on the screen we can show people right now.
And that's me.
Did you paint
Is that you with the
yourself?
redwood?
Is that a self-portrait?
No, that is not a self-portrait.
Who's,
Too bad. That
who's
would
your
have been
friend
very
there?
good. Yes, that's right. I
Where's
am
that big
friends
tree,
with the
though?
tree.
Is that big tree in your backyard?
No, it's in Gibbons Park, which is very close to
lovely.
me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just down the street from
That's
me.
where they had the fireworks for Canada Day that my parents always say was for their anniversary. Yeah,
Nice.
Gibbons
Okay.
Park's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Now, this one here we've got here in the studio.
Yes.
Tell us about this one.
This one is in my back garden. It's where I look from my studio out into the back, and this was my favorite piece of it. There's a lot of other greenery around here. The lot is quite deep, but this particular tree has a feel to it that's whimsical, that has a bit of Japanese to it, but also a Victorian feel. And so I wanted to capture the movement of it. Brush strokes are really important to me. I like things moving, even when they're standing still, because I am a mover, right? I've lived everywhere. And then in the front, I wanted something that was calm. So it is the idea that there is a pathway that leads to it without actually making it distinct, because we make our own pathways as we go.
I like the way that that there's so much light on the actual branches of the. It looks like you can see the light playing on the branches coming through the leaves.
Thank you. Yes. Light is really important in any piece of work that you're doing. For me, it's essential that there's always the feeling of lightness. Even if you're doing something that is dark, the light has to show through.
But it's kind of like artificial, or
Well, yeah, because
in the sense that you're creating
the light,
image of
using
light,
color.
but you're using paint to do that. You're not using light itself.
Well, actually, I started as a watercolor artist. These pieces that you're looking at now are acrylic. There's a lot of watercolor work. And with watercolor, it works the reverse way.
Right.
You paint everything, but you leave the white. You leave the light behind.
Right.
Because we always start from light. And it's the same with acrylic, really. I prefer to do a lot of layers on my canvases, because the more layers you have underneath, the different hues and colors that come up that you can't create just by mixing paints together. They peek through. Have you ever been to a place where they do an ink drawing? So you put a lot of colors on, and then they cover it with black, and then you scrape it off.
I remember doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's so fun, right? Because the colors just come out. And that's what acrylic is for me, too. The white comes out, the color comes out from underneath. And then you can add to it on top with acrylics.
And then with the acrylics, you can add highlights artificially if you
Yes.
feel like it, and then you got even because watercolors are hard.
Watercolors are challenging. They have their own way of moving, and you have to respect that. And it takes patience. It takes a lot of patience to be a watercolor artist. And it takes a great deal of ability to throw things out that don't work.
Well, it's not. It's true because you can keep reworking you
An
can keep
acrylic
reworking an
painting
acrylic piece.
forever.
Yeah. This
That's
is
right.
lovely.
Thank you.
Yes, this is a lot of. You can really see the light in this one. Is it?
But this is acrylic too, right?
This is acrylic, and this is all about movement and water. It's about something coming out of the sky, but you're not quite sure what it is. It's all about feeling. This one is entirely feeling. So you've got a combination of two things. You've got the calmness of blue, and yet there's a little bit of edgy green that makes the aquamarine, right? And then you've got this dark blue in the front. So you've got calm, but at the same time, it's moving, it's turbulent, you know.
Is it possible that the thing coming from the sky is a UFO?
Could be.
Do you believe in UFOs?
Oh, yes, I believe in all kinds of things.
How about the Mandela effect?
Oh, here we go.
One thing at a time.
I thought we were going to get through a whole. I really thought we were going to get through a whole episode without talking. He doesn't. I think I'm starting to think you do this to me on purpose. Oh, it's not to me. I shouldn't take it so personally.
No, don't take it personally.
How much do you believe that art needs to have a viewer? How much do you believe that your art requires that the actually coming to somebody else? Do you believe you can do art and not show it to anyone, or is it an essential part of art to show it to somebody?
For me, that's a difficult question, because always when I have been doing art or teaching art, I've had people coming through my house and my studios. It's always been seen. It just has. There's never been a question of that. And people are always interested in what I'm doing, right? You know, what's coming next? Oh, I'm seeing this, and it looks like it's going to be one thing, and then it turns into something else, which is very exciting as you move along with it, right?
Well, with a painting, you mean it changes as you're painting it?
Absolutely, it changes.
Have we got any examples of that here?
Let me see.
Because, they took some of those great masters and they saw that there were different images underneath it.
Yes, and now don't forget that the great masters were often quite poor. They weren't getting the $1 million and multi-million dollars that people are now. So they often didn't have a choice. It's like, I need another canvas. I'm out of luck, so I'm painting over this one. But sometimes it was also, this painting isn't good enough. I'm painting over it. So it's a shame when we take this stuff off to reveal something underneath, because what do we know, right?
Yeah.
Whatever is the end result that got out there is what is important, right?
Well, I want to see something here that from you that might have an image behind it somehow.
Uh-huh.
Okay, here's one.
Oh, yes. This actually did start out as an entirely different painting with a whole lot more purple in it, and then it just started to move one day and shift. And so I call this one Cloud Flowers, because it's almost like the flowers are sky-born, and it has, for me, all the feel of wheat and fire at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
yes.
neat too, and then with the actual clouds above.
Yes.
I always like the paintings that kind of have the as above so below thing.
Yes.
Running through them, like you get. I mean, even with, I guess the easiest, the most obvious would be like reflections in water, and you're seeing.
Yes, that's right. Also, in the center of that piece, I don't know if you can bring it back, but there is something that can be looked at from different. So it can be an insect, it can be a plant that's growing, it can be a plant that's died. There's just all kinds of possibilities of what the element in the middle could represent.
See, and this is because I'm not wearing my glasses, and it's quite a long. I mean, I'm looking at the monitor across the room. But,
I can see it looks like an insect.
well, I was actually thinking it almost looks like a hummingbird to me from where I'm
Yes,
sitting. So.
I was going to say to you, and it also looks like a bird that's taking off if the one wing is sort of bent over, and then it's going up, and the hummingbird is actually using the elongated beak to dip into whatever is coming.
So again, a lot of movement.
This one is a fishy business.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It feels like looking down into the water
And seeing the fish.
Yeah.
And if you've ever done any snorkeling, it's often beautiful like this before things actually come into view completely, before they're totally clear.
Do you have a pond in your backyard?
No, I don't have.
You should get one.
I have a water feature.
You do.
I love the sound of water, so I have water features inside, outside the house,
That's
in
great.
more than one place.
Oh,
Now, this one is really, it was kind of a different feel for me. This is, I got a feel that it was Japanese. I had to finish it completely to understand what it was. And it's almost like the eels, they could be eels, are coming out of the water and dancing, or they could be fighting as well, but I thought of them as dancing. And in the sky on the left-hand side, from the way I'm looking straight at it, there's something in the sky, and it reminded me of the Japanese bombers that came during the Japanese wars.
The Zeros.
Yes. And then, and they were often coming over the water, and then something coming out of it, almost something beautiful, but also something that is
it's threatening,
at
ominous.
the same time.
That's the vibe I got immediately before you even mentioned any of that. Was that what is that ominous, threatening presence in the corner there?
That's right.
Not a UFO. Possibly a UFO. Potentially.
Oh, we've
And
seen
this is another one we've got in our
Yes.
list. Yeah.
Yes. And this one is, again, it's all about the journey, about the movement. When people have seen this one, they have just said to me, I want to get on that boat. I just want to be on that boat, and I want to be in that place. So it can be anywhere.
It looks like the tide's out, though.
Yeah. Well, no, it's morning tide, so it could be in or out.
I like the orange that you used in both of those paintings. So the orange against the blue, because it's almost kind of a sandy color, but not quite as a stronger color than that.
Yes, and it's a good color for accenting the white in the background. It really brings it out, but it's a very strong color, and it picks up the red in the boat as well, so
Right.
that it all ties together. There are images in my sky. There are always images in my sky that show up that look like spirits. People have often said, "Oh, there's a spirit there." Have you seen
I
this?
see it. He's kind of flying with his arms outstretched, right?
So that's so much more fun than just, Dali painting himself into things. Can you see different things when you go to the side of the painting? Or
Yes.
another beautiful sky.
Thank you.
Now, where's this?
This is Turkey. I lived in Turkey, and this is what I looked at when I looked out from my window.
That's
in
not a bad
Turkey.
view. It's not
What
a...
is
No,
that
no.
body of
Wow.
water?
What's that?
What is that body
Is that
of
the...
water?
That is the Atlantic. No, it.
the
Oh, wait a
with
minute.
Mediterranean? Or
Yeah,
would it be...
yes, it's the Mediterranean there.
So you're looking
That's
west there?
Yes.
Beautiful.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, and it was beautiful with these islands and the boats always on the water. It was very, very lovely.
How was living in Turkey, besides the views?
I loved Turkey. It's a real dichotomy. Everything is going on in Turkey. You have the extremely religious, and then you have the modern people. You have combinations of people who are so gentle and kind and loving, and then I never met a man who wasn't stabbed at some time in his life. It's just everywhere you go, it's this constant. You have the ancient, wonderful history, and you're walking on Roman grounds, and there's beautiful amphitheaters everywhere, and then you have these really horrible concrete buildings that are erected and unfinished throughout the country. Fabulous food and food poisoning. It's just like whatever you want, you can have it in Turkey. But what I loved over Greece, it's much greener. Much greener. It's like a hidden gem that people don't know about. There's always mountains and also water, unless you're in the really dry central part. Almost everywhere you go, you can have the combination of the two, which is beautiful. It reminded me a lot in places of New Brunswick.
Oh, really?
Yes, the small forest trees and
Right.
and the up and down of the terrain
New Brunswick, huh?
yes.
Well, it's interesting. People don't really realize how different the two coasts of Canada are. Even there's just nothing the same between New Brunswick and BC. It's
No.
just amazing how different. You say you've lived everywhere. Like, where else have you lived? I'm really-
Well, I lived.
how did you end up in London of all places?
Okay. Well, stories. I started here and then went out west, and I lived in BC, and then Banff in Alberta, then Manitoba, then out to Prince Edward Island. And in Prince Edward Island, loved the place, but at that time it was still an island with no bridge.
Right.
So it meant you couldn't leave, you know. It's like the Hotels California
Even
in the
after the
winter
bridge?
time.
Yeah.
Yes, you could never check out. And it was very challenging in the wintertime. It was just too hard to make a living there. Otherwise, it was a wonderful, wonderful place to live. And I had never been to London, and with my partner at that time, he said, well, where do we go now? And before, we just always pulled a name out of a hat. Okay, let's move there, because we can't really afford a holiday to come back. Just go one way. So we ended up, I said, I believe if we go to London, we can make some money. So we moved to London, and we did. And then my time with that experience ended. Together we created a murder mystery company, and we ran that. And then I sold my part to him, and I just purchased a harp, a small harp,
You mean
taught
like a harp?
myself to play a harp,
Yeah.
taught myself to play, and then I spent 16 years in Spain, Turkey, and Brazil, and some other countries.
Tell me you made your money busking around. with
Not
the harp and-
busking. Not busking. I was not busking. That's right. I did teach music, international folk music, to children in Gibraltar and Spain. I taught children in Spain. I did. I had art exhibits. Let's see. I sang a lot, and did some property investment with another person. So
Can I
there
ask
you
a
go.
question, since
Yeah.
you've been all over the place. Where is the best place to kind of just go and live happily ever after?
Well, I think Canada is pretty good, but second, I would say Spain. The people are so happy. The food is unbelievable. People are singing and dancing all the time. It's a marvelous place to be.
It sounds like the opposite of the United States currently. It's like the exact opposite. People are like trying to figure out the easiest way to kill themselves before Trump.
That's because of all that spirit cooking that's going on.
It's funny. I think it's great that you played the harp, though, too, because I've heard that in Turkey it's a little bit strange because Lorena McKenna is one of the most popular artists in Spain, and that you
Yes, also in Senegal, Africa. I was there for a while, too. The harp was wonderful. It opened all kinds of doors for me. I actually was in a band called Zelsek's Band in Senegal, Africa for a little while, and I played the harp and sang and was on...
What kind of band was it?
An African band, which means anything can go, right? You know, and it was really funny because that is was settled by the French. Mm-hmm. So I had a combination of French and Olive, which was their major dialect, going there with the people. But they would always say to me, "Do you know this artist or that artist?" And of course, they were talking about people from Quebec, and I knew some, but not all of them. They knew all of, because they were French, so of course they would call up what was ever French.
Right.
Yes, because that's what they were
Did they
attracted
mention
to.
harmonium?
No, they did not.
Do you know that band?
No, I don't.
Are they a French band?
I had a dream about them last night. Yeah, they're from Quebec,
really?
Quebec band, yeah.
So you've had a pretty exciting life so far.
Because it's a choice. There you go.
That is true.
You
That is
chose
really true.
excitement.
I did. Excitement, adventure. That's not to say there's not, always two sides to that. But when you want to really live, just embrace it.
So what are you going to do next?
That's what I was going to ask. Do you still have a hat that you pull names out of, or I'm sort of picturing you doing the Dr. Dolittle thing where you just spin the globe and stick the pin in wherever it goes, you end up.
Well, no, I like being here now. I have. I just feel very comfortable being here. So though I would like to just travel some places sometimes, I don't want to go for quite so long. And I have a really great, I have many different hats that I wear. As I said, I'm a musician and an artist, but I'm also a dream builder coach. So I help other people to create the dream life they want and to live it now, not to wait. So
So how can people get in touch with you if they want their dreams to be realized in this lifetime and stuff? It always seems like it's such a shame to me when people say, "Oh, I'm going to travel when I'm retired."
I know.
It's like you want to wait until you might not have the health or the
That's
energy.
right.
and-
Or I always wanted to, and I didn't. I say, well, do you
It's-
really still want to do that? If you do, then it's time to. So people can get in touch with me at, I have two websites. One is strictly my art, which is www.spiritgirl.net. And the website to see about my dream building is www.georgiamarch.ca. And you can contact me anytime.
That's fantastic. So they can contact you to buy a painting or to maybe hire you for their band,
That's right.
no matter what kind of music it is.
Mostly I sing jazz, or I do play my harp in our jazz band as well. So
that's
something
cool.
interesting,
Very
yeah.
I have not heard much jazz harp in my life, but I think that
I
sounds
know.
wonderful.
That is great. Did we see enough of the paintings?
There's a couple more.
Let's just
Let's
look
see
at
a
these
couple
other
more
ones
paintings.
since we're here,
Yes.
and then we'll get our next guest on. But
Okay, this
Here's
is one that's from a series of 5 paintings I have done called The Kiss. And this is The Kiss number 1. This was the first one that I did.
inspired by Gustav Klimt.
No, not at all. I was inspired by the power of love and looking what happens to different couples at different stages in their life, in different places, different positions. But this one, as you can see, the woman is more dominant, and she's got all the fire in her hair, and she's very spiritual. And the man is just moving into that kind of a
Yeah, I can-
feeling.
I
He's
can
just
feel that.
accepting it.
Yes, he says, okay.
But she's into it.
She is very much.
He looks
Yes.
Spanish. Is he Spanish?
I don't know. I never
Okay.
thought of that. But if you look at the position of her hands as well, she's got a very the power position with her hands. She's embracing him from both sides.
Is what else we got? We got another
got
one of those
another
kisses.
one?
I want to see those.
This one. This is actually on top of my garage. This beautiful weather vane, and I didn't want to put the garage in. When I finished, I felt like it was enough, just what I had there. And with the bicycle on top, it's almost like it's taking off. It's taking its own journey, and so that's what. And it's got all directions. It can go anywhere. And if you see, there's just a faint bit of pink showing through over the bicycle. It's almost
Right.
like there's a rainbow underneath the sky.
Oh,
Right.
that's great.
All right.
Thank
That's
you.
Fantastic. So people can see more of your artwork or get in touch. We already said the website, spiritgirl.net, georgiamarch.ca.
That's it.
And maybe you can help them to create their dreams as you've obviously lived your dreams, right?
I would love to do that. It has been a pleasure talking to both of you today, and I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're not done yet. It's Liquid Lunch. We're going to come back. We've got Christina Kissin from the youth community, Youth for Human Rights Toronto. We're going to talk about human rights.
Cool.
That's what I'm saying. ThatChannel.com. We'll be right back.